Well, welcome to Delayed Offside. With me, as always, is Michael Bunting superfan Ryan Pilon and Jay Beagle apologist Sanjay Kaushal. I'm your host, Barrett, and there's a catch here. There's lots to cover with that, but we all know that Sanjay, pro fighting, pro beating the crap out of helpless guys, and supporting local people is always part of it. But we're not going to get into that yet. We're going to wait for a little bit after. We're going to talk about today's big accomplishment, which is something you probably have talked about several times, which is Austin Matthews getting 47 goals in 47 games. And actually, I think more than that now, or it might be 48 goals now. I think, because I can't remember if that tweet was out before he scored the hat trick. But the hat trick essentially puts him in a league leading 54 goals, and it ties a Toronto franchise record with a chance to break it tomorrow in Florida. When all is said and done, how many goals do you think he has by the end of this season? Let's go with Michael Bunting superfan here, Ryan Pilon. Ryan, you're wearing all red colors, which is so weird for a Toronto fan. For you to embrace the Montreal Canadiens,
now and then you got to embrace that style, Canada, and your nationalistic pride. I'll say he gets 62. I think he'll get north of 60 for sure.
All right, Sanjay, are we going to take that as an over or under? Do you think
how many games are left? How many games do they have left?
Ooh, that's a good question. I want to say something around like 13 or 12.
Okay, 13. I'll say he's at 54 now. He could cool off. He goes through hot and cold streaks. They might rest him for the playoffs. He'll miss a game or two. I'll say he'll get 63.
It's a very good question or comment that you make there, Sanjay, which is if he hits his 60, and let's say there's 2 games left in the season, and your standings are basically solidified, they don't change anything, do you rest Austin Matthews?
I would. Why wouldn't you? Like, there's nothing to play for. Rest him. What if he gets?
I doubt that the standings are going to be solidified, though. The way it's super tight in the Atlantic.
Yeah. It's solidified in the sense of who's made the playoffs.
Who's made it, yeah. But I mean, if you're fighting for home playoff or home ice advantage. But I mean, I guess if there's like no chance they can get it, or they've cleared enough space between them and third place, then sure, yeah. I would play the shit out of that fourth line.
Right now, where are the Leafs in the standings, Ryan? So they're
second in the Atlantic.
They're second in the Atlantic behind
Florida,
and they are paired right now to play Tampa. Tampa's third right now. And
although that might change after tonight, because Leafs just beat Tampa, and I think Boston was winning tonight, so they might flip.
Toronto should just let Tampa win.
Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, why you should have just
gotta slay the dragon. That's the only way we're going to do her.
That's not true. When Flames won the cup, they didn't have to beat the Oilers, so you don't always have to beat that rival.
Sometimes you let somebody else.
Then your cup didn't really count. Really, like, did it really feel that good?
Yeah, it probably did. I was two.
I was going to say Sanjay was pretty young in that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Washington had to go through Pittsburgh. They finally had to beat them. I think the Leafs are going to have to do the same. They have to finally beat those nasty Bruins.
And Boston's been actually on an incredible heater here as of late. Yeah. Like, they've been one of the better teams in the NHL post-trade deadline. Even before then, they were kind of on an upswing. But they've been really performing well. And if they are climbing into that position, a Leafs-Bruins round to me would be must watch TV. I would love to see that. I'm going to say that Matthews ends up with, I think I'm going to agree with Ryan and go with 62. Did you say 62 or 64, Ryan?
I said 62.
I'm going to say 62. I think that's a good amount. And it's still like an incredible amount. And with all the conversation about it, has he replaced Ovechkin as the preliminary goal scorer in the NHL league? Is he the goal scorer now?
Yes, 100%.
I would say so, yeah.
You look at like the last few seasons, no one scored at a goal per game pace the same as Austin Matthews. And the scary thing is he was doing it before the Leafs power play actually got good. Last year, their power play was terrible. Years before that, Babcock played even power play 1 and 2.
Here we go again. Babcock's
bringing up Babcock. But like the power play has really been a detriment to Austin Matthews' goal totals. Just didn't get on it as much at the beginning, and then the Leafs were, for whatever reason, just never really great at the power play. Now the power play is turned on and they're red hot. They still don't draw a lot of penalties, so they don't get as many opportunities as some other teams, but I tell you, the fact that the power play is red hot right now too. I mean, that just makes it even more dangerous.
It's funny, like when you say how that's become kind of the thing, because realistically, you're right. Like the power play hasn't been very good for them. Even at the start of the year, it was actually quite terrible, but it's gotten better and better. I think it's first in the league right now, isn't
First
it?
in the league, yeah.
First in the league, Edmonton's second. And Edmonton, same thing, where they were really good and then just cratered and then have slowly started picking up again. But it's weird because when you think of Ovechkin, when I think of those Ovechkin goals, there's a ton of those that have been picked off of the power play. But we don't talk about Ovi as a power play specialist, but the guy has made a living on those power plays.
From same spot every time.
Same spot.
And I never understand. You know exactly where he's going to be. How can you not cover the guy? I don't get it.
So one of the knocks on the Leafs power play last year, this was like when we would have a group of guys together sitting and chatting, was the fact that last year's setup, there wasn't any other threat to shoot except for Matthews. And so guys would just shadow onto him or cut him off or try to get that pass off because they knew they weren't going to get shot at for anywhere else. I think that's changed a bit this year and the structure of it and everything else. But it's funny to me that doesn't apply to Ovechkin, because when I think of their power play, okay, Backstrom, sure, maybe, but it's not like the other people are ever going to be high prolific scorers in that power play as well. And I might be out to lunch, but I just can't think of like, man, who's got the rifle on that shot? It's always Ovechkin.
Well, I think they also had like Mike Green with the bomb from the point, right?
It was Mike Green back in the day. Now it's Carlson.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And like Morgan Riley just never had that big booming slap shot, so they never really respected his shot. And True. So I think that was kind of the issue too. And they were very stagnant, so they didn't move around a lot. And when they weren't worried about a shot from the point, and Matthews was, the only person they were really going to get a shot from, it made it pretty predictable. But like now, Marner's developed a shot, right? And now they have to respect his shot. They can't just all cheat anymore. And Riley, I mean, he doesn't have a slap shot anymore, but he's starting to shoot it more often now, which is good. And there's more movement as well. So they brought in, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but they brought in a new coach to handle the power play, and he's done a fantastic job.
Now, how many years has Austin Matthews gotten 50 goals?
He hasn't.
So this is the first year. Okay.
He would have if it hadn't been for COVID.
And he's going to get 60, right?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Probably.
He's on pace for it for sure.
Right.
Especially after tonight. Yeah.
What are the odds that you guys think he repeats this feat again?
Pretty high.
Yeah, I think he will. The thing is I touched on this last episode, but really, if you took away his wrist injury, because after the month of October, he had one goal.
Right.
He only had one goal an entire month. Like you could just tell his wrist wasn't quite right yet. From November till now, with his goal scoring pace, he'd be on pace for over 70. Oh. So, and actually, Cooper, head coach for Tampa, he just said that he thinks Matthews will get 70 someday too. I think he could potentially do that.
That's crazy. It is tough though too, because so much can be based on a small part of it. Like if you look at like, even for someone who we're talking about in a minute or two, Draisaitl's pace off the start of the year was ridiculous. And he even said it. He's like, it's not going to be like that, you guys. I'm not going to score at this pace for forever. And he didn't, and he cooled off. And then
Adam believed in him though. Again. Adam believed.
Adam also believed in Brandon Perlini, like Turris. Like he literally in a group chat said to us that Turris didn't get a chance. Think about that comment to be like, okay, so yeah, of course Adam believed in it. But do you think that that's part of it? Do you think he's going to cycle back down, or do you actually think that 70 goal total thing's realistic?
Or Matthews?
Well, here the thing is, I guess the question is this: are we just looking at an unprecedented year, like a blooper year, or is this going to continue to trend like this? Because the league hasn't had scoring on this pace in a long time.
No, it hasn't.
And is it likely that it's going to keep climbing? Because even last year's pace and the previous year's pace were all in line with each other. The big news was McDavid being able to hit that point total. And that his point per game was so high, not his goals, but his points per game was so high. Yeah. And was the highest. Now Matthews is scoring with the highest rate since like the same era, right? I think like the Lemieux era, essentially.
Yeah, 95, 96. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the thing, but is this a continuing trend, or is this a bloop? Because even the average league scoring last year was in line with the previous couple of years.
I can go either way with that one, man. Like on the one hand, I think, okay, Matthews is around the year where, he's probably in his prime or entering his prime. Potentially this is the best season he'll ever get just based on his age. But at the same time, like I said, the fact that he was coming off a wrist surgery, and then from November till now, which is a very long stretch of time, the goal scoring pace he's been on could be over 70. I don't think he'll get like 70 consistently. I think maybe if he ever gets 70, it'd be like once and that'd be it. Do I think he'll get 60 consistently? I don't know. That's pretty tough too. But like, I think he could be for sure a consistent 50 goal scorer. Like he would have gone to 50 goals the past 2 seasons if it wasn't for short COVID. I think he can basically get 50 in his sleep. Like he's that good.
Yeah.
Sanjay just joked on that.
That's a bold statement. 50 in his sleep. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking back in the day when like one player would get 50 all years.
Well, sorry, I was going to save this for later, but can you name 3 players in the league right now who have had 50 goals more than one season? There's 3 active players in the league. So Draisaitl just got it. Ovechkin.
Stamkos.
Nice one.
Yeah, pretty good. Which is like, I forgot about Stamkos. I was like, like to me, I feel like for the last 10 years, I thought of Stamkos' career going down.
Yeah. Stamkos had a 60 goal season.
Did he?
Yeah.
So Crosby's only hit it once. Malkin's only hit it once, or if
Crosby hasn't hit it.
Didn't he get one?
Oh, sorry, once. Yes, at multiple. It was multiple. You're right. Yeah, Crosby got it once for sure. Yeah.
That's crazy. So he hasn't done it twice, eh?
No, isn't that nuts?
It's like one of those.
He's more of a playmaker than a goal scorer.
But he is a goal scorer too.
He is
50 goals.
But like so is McDavid. McDavid can score goals, but McDavid, gets a lot of assists.
Well, Gretzky made the comment that him and McDavid have to work for goals. Like that someone like Draisaitl, and this would apply to someone like Matthews or Ovechkin, is they just have that shot, that ability to shoot. And eventually this will be Connor Bedard too, where they'll just be able to pick pieces and go. Whereas your speed and everything has to open up. You have to really work to get to that thing to beat a goaltender, right? They can make a play to open somebody else up, but to get the actual goal is kind of tough for them.
Right.
And I think that's a fair assessment. I'm not going to argue with Gretzky.
That's why McDavid has so many more highlight reel goals, I would argue, just because he has to use that speed and to dangle around everyone to get the goal, whereas Matthews just picks it, right?
Yeah. I think that's fair. Like, honestly, him busting through defensemen or creating space and then doing like that. I think that's a fair part of it. When a guy's skating in and he just snipes one, it doesn't seem like anything, right?
Yeah.
It looks easy. It's not.
Yeah.
It looks easy.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're going through 2 or 3 guys and kicking it through their legs and then picking top shelf, you're like, holy crap.
Yeah. And not that Matthews can't dangle, because he's scored some real beauties, but he just doesn't do it as often, right? He's usually scoring on the top of the circle, or off a wraparound or off a tip. Like, he's actually got a lot of garbage goals this season too. Lots of battles in front of the net and tipping it or rebounds and that type of thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough goal talk for now until we talk about it after the segment, because we have more goal talk to do. But with that, let's start the show. All right, welcome back from that introduction. Please like, click, subscribe. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Twitter and Instagram, probably your best. And as always, you can find us using the hashtag for whatever person's not here this week. Last week it was me, and this week it's Where's Adam. My guess is that he's still celebrating the Draisaitl 50 goals and 100-point season, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We want to get to the juiciest thing of this week, which is actually the altercation which occurred between the Arizona Coyotes and the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim had run up a 5-0 lead on the Coyotes, and this was late in the game. I don't know the exact time, but essentially with the puck near the net, Zegras goes in and starts poking the puck around. And with that, Jay Beagle, friend of not the pod, but of pod member Sanjay, who recently, you recently met up with him though too, didn't you?
Yeah, at the Flames game. When
Yes,
I went, I think that was a couple Fridays ago.
Yeah, so you went and chatted with him and visited for a bit and got pictures with him.
Yeah.
No signed sticks.
No signed sticks, not yet.
Not yet. You have had sticks though in the past, because you had like Matt Hendricks stick one year.
Yeah, he would just like give me like random sticks. He'd be like, because I shoot left and he shoots right, so he'd be like, he would just give me random sticks, and he's like, well, if you shot right, I could have gave you a bunch more, but
well, I shoot right.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, so
the hell, Sanjay.
Yeah, now I'm on the hook for some sticks.
Yeah. But anyway, so you saw him recently, but so after this, with the poking, he comes in and he gives a cross check to the back of Zegras. And like the weird part is, and I think this is what we talked about a little bit earlier, the conversation was kind of around the showboating or the hot dogging of the style of goals. But at that moment, that cross check was for poking at the puck, I would say.
Yeah.
That started a bit of a scrum. Troy Terry, leading goal scorer on the Ducks, comes in, grabs Beagle. Beagle, I think, turns around, and then they start going at it. And Beagle essentially pummels him. He does beat him pretty good. And then that's broken up. And then the conversation comes out. Zegras says that he should be like suspended or punished because that was BS, him beating on a superstar and so forth. And part of the conversation is about how Tyson Nash, and this was off of Edmonton radio at 1260 out of Edmonton on the Nielsen show. They were talking about this morning, how it was framed by the way Nash, one of the commentators, had commented on it about, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You're like showing off and blah, blah, blah. And so the conversation was skill versus fighting. Now, do you think this situation here, like we'll talk about this in a couple different ways, but do you think this skill or the situation here was actually a skill? Like these guys are playing so skilled that like the response is to fight? Or do you think that this was they're showing off, we have to fight? Or was this in the moment thing, and then a guy grabs you and you just react stuff? So we're going to go to the non-Jay Beagle supporter. Actually, I don't know that he doesn't support Jay Beagle. He's just not.
I would if he come on our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. What are you biasing?
Let's go to Ryan here because he doesn't have
I honestly don't think it had anything to do with the Michigan goal. The fight didn't even occur with Zegras, who scored the goal.
Yeah.
So I don't quite get the whole, if you're going to showboat and do all that skill, then this is what you get. I thought it was really bad commentary and told the wrong narrative.
Yeah.
Sanjay, you think the exact same thing?
100%. Yeah. Like just knowing Jay, and
that kills the conversation.
Just knowing like the person he is, I just can't see that being a factor at all. Like I think the commentator, the only reason why it's being discussed is because the commentator said that, and the commentator doesn't know, like he's not on the ice. I don't think that's a factor at all. Like at that time, you're not like on the ice. Like we've all played hockey before. It hasn't bothered me if someone scores like a nice goal. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to goon it up with them because they're more skilled than me. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, the cross check to Zegras wasn't even that bad. Like it was a pretty light cross check. Like it wasn't like he tried to take Zegras' head off or something either.
That play happens 100 times in a game. You watch any game like the Lightning and Leafs, the cross check, like that's maybe like a 2-minute penalty because the league wants to like get rid of that. Maybe you call that a 2-minute penalty, but besides that, like it's nothing. Like it's not like a malicious cross check like Zegras I think said it was or something like that. Like no, I don't. It just happens. That happens 100 times in hockey. And especially when you're poking at the goalie, like in front of the net, like every team would like say like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like you watch the Flames, they do that 100 times a game. Like,
right. So like, and I think that part's fine. Like the, what you said about like that part not being a penalty, but you've seen the pictures of Troy Terry. Troy Terry got like, for lack of a better term, effed up in that fight. Yeah, like bad. Like his face looks like crap. The Oilers steamrolled Anaheim last night, and I think that is legit. I'm being like Adam. I'm working them in every conversation here, but I think that is literally because one of their top goal scorers was out. Like he's out right now because of that fight, right? So some of the conversation around that was that a fight previous to that had been stopped by the refs right away, but they let Beagle take some hits on Troy Terry. So did that part go too far?
You never want to see anyone get hurt. Like, you play game, you never want to see anyone get injured. Like 100%, no one wants to see Troy Terry get hurt. You don't want to see anyone get hurt on the ice, right? Like these guys are athletes, they're playing a game, they have, they go home, you don't want to bring that with you. So no, I don't want to see anyone get hurt. But I think when you look at it, like it just seems to me that just watching like the video replay, it seems to me like Terry comes in trying to initiate like a fight. You know what I mean? Like he comes in, he swings at Beagle, and it just seems like why are you swinging? Like a lot of times in a scrum like that, you would just tie a guy up, right?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Just grab their arms, and then you just skate off to the bench, and the refs might call a penalty. But you look at it, it looks like he's like swinging, coming in swinging. So I don't know why he did that. It just seems like kind of odd. So it just seems like kind of odd that he would come in swinging because he's not a fighter, and
right.
Beagle's not a fighter either. Like this is his second career fight.
No, he fought Aaron Asham. Is that the other one? Because that was a big fight because Beagle got hurt in that fight.
Yeah, well, that was like his only other fight. So like he's only fought like twice in the league as far as I can recall. So it's not like he's a fighter either. But I just don't know. Like normally that time, I mean, just like me playing like my mid-level hockey, that's not very high level. When I used to play, like you would just like grab a guy. You wouldn't like come in swinging. Like you come in swinging, that's kind of like,
right.
Like why would you come in swinging kind of thing? Like just grab a guy and say like, what are you doing? Like why do you? And it's not like Terry was like there. Like Terry was like on the other side of the ice. Like and then he came and
into the scrum.
Yeah,
so Terry threw the first punch. Like I was trying to look for that, but I found it kind of hard to figure that out. Just I found like the cameras were kind of switching right at that time when they were first hooking up. Did you?
Yeah. The camera angle isn't very.
Yeah.
Isn't very good
did he throw the first punch, or did he just kind of grab him from behind?
Like for me, like I've only seen it a couple times, but it looks like he like comes in swinging, like throwing like a punch at first. So, like to me, like that's kind of like why would you do that? Like like maybe he didn't. I don't know. Like maybe he got like he saw like one of his guys down, and he saw Beagle. Maybe he didn't see it, and he just came in. Like I don't know. Like I can't say like what Terry was thinking, but like every time I see it, like it seems like it's just like you just grab a guy and then you just skate off to the bench. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Right. So Louis DeBrusque was talking about this a bit, and he told a story about how when someone grabbed him who wasn't prepared to fight, he just didn't do anything. And Craig McTavish, now this is old, right? This is obviously like early 90s. Craig McTavish told him, if somebody does that, if somebody engages with you, that's their mistake. You let them know it was a mistake. And so he's like, so that's how I approach it. And he's like, that's not saying that that's right or whatever, but that's just how I think. And so he's like, when Troy Terry gets application of that would be that when Troy Terry grabs him, knowing that he's grabbing a tougher player, that he has to be prepared that he might get pummeled or he might get hit. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it does show something else there, which is I didn't think of them as a weak team because of all the stuff, but they might be soft to play against. Essentially, they might not have that guy. You look at how it's worked out with teams trying to grab stronger people. The Leafs have literally packed, Kyle Clifford and Simmons on their team so that there's some toughness there as well. Other teams like the Oilers picked up Cassian for a long time. Before that, they had Lucic and Maroon, and same with Calgary now has Lucic and stuff. Guys to open up space and to offer some form of persuasion. The Ducks really don't have that. Sorry, not just to go back to you there now. I'll go to you there on this one. Your thoughts about what occurred there, Ryan?
Yeah, I've heard all of the analysts about it, and everyone just seems to be pissed off at Beagle. And like, I don't know, if someone grabs me from behind, like to me, what are you expecting? So I don't know. I've heard the arguments that Beagle should have known that Terry wasn't a fighter and just not as big or whatever and laid off a little bit. But I think there was a total of maybe 4 or 5 shots in there, and then he went down. Like it wasn't like, it was like a 5 or, like a 2-3 minute fight or anything like that. If anyone's to blame, to be honest, I would almost blame the linesmen who were just standing there watching it. Like there was a linesman in arm's reach that whole time, and they didn't go in there to break it up. They just let it happen. So I don't know. I'm not in the NHL. I don't know the player code. I don't know if there's a player code where, okay, you if you're, a big guy, you don't punch a little guy. I don't know. But all I know from the outside looking in, I'm like, Terry initiated it. Beagle responded, and Beagle's the stronger guy, and Terry suffered for it. So I don't quite get the whole outrage against Beagle on this one, to be honest. He just, to me, answered the call and answered it strongly.
It's interesting because it's like the conversation has now become back to fighting in hockey, and it's always such a weird one because like people can always say like, oh, I don't like hockey, or it doesn't serve a purpose. It's the only place where you can have a legitimate fight without getting charged for assault. I get that. Yeah. But the thing that always stands out to me is that like, I don't know anyone who sees a fight and is like, oh no, and sits in their seat. Like, I just don't. I do think that happens when something bad occurs. And I feel like everyone loves fighting for like, or like fighting like in hockey, like, oh, this is fun, this is great, until something bad happens. And then everyone's like, no, this doesn't belong. But I got to feel like at some point it is heading more and more that direction. And I think that's where it goes. I was just trying to find what you guys were talking. I was trying to find the video, and you're right. Like the camera does change.
Yeah. Like it changes just as he grabs him. And
I don't know if like he comes in around and he does look like he takes a shot.
Does he take a shot at him?
Well, his arm comes up, or he goes in and like pushes at him. But
like if he takes the first shot, then like you asked for it, in my opinion. If he came in to kind of grab him, and like you were saying, Sanjay, like his whole intention was to grab and skate away, and then all of a sudden he got pummeled, like maybe that's something else. But at the same time, like if I'm Beagle and someone's like, he got grabbed from behind, I know that for sure.
Yes.
Like I don't know what the guy is intending. I don't even know who it is back there right away. Right. So like I'm turning around and I'm swinging. Right. So I don't know. We see this kind of thing all the time. And I think you're right, Baron. I think it's just the fact that Terry looked like shit after the fact and got really hurt, that this has become more of a conversation than any other fight we usually would see in hockey.
Yeah. I mean, you see like that kind of thing all the time in hockey, right? Like, I don't know, maybe I just because I watch the Flames a lot, because like they seem to fight I think more than like most teams, but that thing kind of happens like all the time in scrums and stuff. You pull someone away and then you kind of go. So.
And like sometimes you'll see linesmen jumping right away.
Yeah.
Like right away. Like, like they I don't know if
they watch
why they do it, but they might recognize that this is an uneven matchup here, and let's break this up before it gets ugly. And that's again, I think the linesmen are right within arm's length of these guys, and they could see Terry getting pummeled, and they just watched it happen. Like there was one time it actually looked like a linesman was supposed to step in and then stopped himself.
It's interesting because like you say that, and I wonder if the directive is just not people can't fight, but because I think that is it, because they literally break up most fights now if you watch it. And I wonder if it's when it's a crowd like that, it's just easier to try to keep other people out of it. Like your focus changes. Maybe. So in other words, when it's two guys fighting, hey, I can break that up. Right.
Yeah. Right.
But in a large group, in a scrum, there's 4 or 5 guys, I got to pick. And if you're beating the crap out of the other guy and I try to stop you, well, then these 2 guys are now going. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And,
or maybe like once a fight's like already gotten to a certain point, now it's just too dangerous to get in there, because now these fists are flying really fast. And now you just got to wait till they get worn down a bit. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not a referee.
Yeah,
so
I
don't know.
In like a Lucic and like Cassian fight, right? Like, I'm like, no, I'm not stepping in front of that. You're not paying me enough to. Those guys, right?
These guys jump in, and I usually find it's like right off the bat before any fists have actually flown, like they've hooked up and they're trying to get like their arms free to punch, and then if they get in there and separate it, or it's okay if the fights happen and now they're exhausted and now we can get in there. So I wonder also if it has something to do with, once those fists are flying and now it's just too dangerous to get in there, just let them do their thing and then handle it after.
Do you guys remember when the ref stepped in when Iginla and Phaneuf were gonna fight, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?" That would have been so epic to see like the former teammates go.
What happens all the time? Refs get booed because they broke up a fight people wanted to see.
Iggy and Giordano almost fought too in Calgary, and the refs broke it up. I was like, "What? That would have been so cool to see."
Well, I didn't want to see Giordano until you see like your captain, your new captain, get pummeled by your old captain. Yeah, be like, "Oh yeah, it's not as good."
I miss Iggy.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. Sorry, Gio.
Sometimes there's diminishing returns on stuff. I guess talk about Calgary for a bit here. So the Flames haven't had to deal with a lot of adversity. That's not necessarily completely true. They did have a slump, but when they did slump earlier in the season, Edmonton was on a colossal slump, which made theirs look like a mild slump, right? It was like, our city's flooding, but you're like, yeah, their city's flooding and on fire. So which is worse? But they did have a little bit of a cold streak there. But right now they're kind of entering one as well. So what do we think is the cause
and injury
of this?
Issues too?
Yeah, what are the injury issues? That's new to me. What are
Sean
some
Monahan out for the year?
Okay, yes,
hip surgery on the other hip.
But Sean Monahan, in not to crap on the player, hasn't really been a big component of things helping this team at this moment, right?
No, like he's still like an important piece, but he's not as
many
important
points.
as he was.
How many points?
Maybe like 12 goals.
What's the character in the room?
What's his plus minus?
I don't know.
Didn't help Keith Yandel this last today. So
well, it's very minor. It's him. It's Yarncroke is out with a non-COVID illness, and Brett Ritchie, I think, is also out.
So there's no toughness in the lineup.
Oh, and Shillington is out. So I don't know if Ritchie's in or out, but so I think there's 3 or 4 players that are out.
But there's been some players out. What else do you think is going on here? And are you concerned, Sanjay? So what are the causes of this here coldy streaky?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think? And should you be concerned? And Ryan, why should or shouldn't he be concerned? Let's go with you first, and we'll go to Ryan here.
Okay, well, I think the Flames just aren't playing very sharp right now. Just watching the Blues game, it looks like there's giveaways. The score was tied late in the third, and they were playing like poor defensively instead of like trying to get to overtime to get a point. Like they just seem like it seems like they were so far ahead. And they can't catch Colorado. And at the time, like it didn't look like LA or Edmonton could catch them. Right. That they really had like nothing to play for. So they're just kind of like playing out the string. Let's not get hurt. Let's make sure we can make it to the playoffs. And I think like they kind of just lost their focus a little bit where they're just like, and things were going really good for them, really easy. They're putting up 6 goals, 7 goals, 5 goals. So I think like, they kind of just took the foot off the gas there a little bit. Like, yeah, we got this. We'll pick it up in playoff time. But then you look at the rearview mirror, and in the words of a famous Meatloaf song, R.I.P., objects in the rearview mirror are closer than they appear. And the Oilers and the Kings now are a little bit closer.
What Meatloaf song is that?
You don't know that song?
No.
Oh,
hum it there, Sanjay.
Like I know Bad Outta Hell, not Bad Outta Hell 2, but I know Bad Outta Hell.
That's from Bad Outta Hell 2, I think.
Of course it would be. What else could it be?
Well, that's a song. Good album.
You know what song it is?
Mirror.
No, do you?
What song is it?
What's the song called, Sanjay?
Objects in the Rearview Mirror, I'm pretty sure. Pilon's going to get it right now.
He's either getting the album or his kid has appeared at the stairs and is like flipping him off. And he's like, no, time for bed again. And the
he's
kid's
like, let me regale you stories of the greatest singer of all time, Meatloaf. Oh,
see, that's Bad Outta Hell 1, though, right?
That's Bad Outta Hell 1. Yeah, you
that's
need
one,
Bad Outta Hell
2. That one. Yeah, he can't hear
Let me pull it up.
This is great. Ryan, that's the wrong album. That's the wrong album, Ryan.
What? Oh, it's not Bad Outta Hell?
That's Bad Outta Hell 1.
Hell 2.
Bad Outta Hell 2, he's saying. It's the blue covered album.
All right. It's
a great album. It's a great album.
It's called Objects in the Rearview Mirror May Appear Closer Than They Are. Look it up. It's a great song. Meatloaf. R.I.P. Miss the guy.
I don't even want to look it up because I don't know if you're lying or not. You sit there and you blink a lot, and I can't tell if you're screwing with me and that's why you're blinking, or if that's just normal. Like I am so confused.
Very dusty in here. I don't dust in my office, so
you can see. Like, I think you need to wear your glasses.
Maybe you actually watch some of those movies. They wouldn't collect so much dust.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Rude.
He's like, I don't have a response.
Why did I even come on this episode? I should have just called in sick like Adam.
Yeah, exactly. I think Adam had 2 or 3 different things scheduled tonight. I really do, because I think that that one group was trying to do a baseball pool, and I swear they said tonight as well. But I think the excuse he gave us is the true excuse, because I think Adam would push you in
It's
front of a
not that,
bus
we
for
don't
that.
record on the same day every
At the same
week.
time, or that he schedules the same thing at the same time as this every week.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Like this isn't the first one of these. This is like the third or fourth.
No, I even told him, I was like, Adam, stop scheduling things on Monday. You know what we're doing Mondays. No,
Right.
Like it's legit set. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But thinking of things that are legit set, who do you like before Jonathan Huberdeau? And we talked about this in the chat, but before Jonathan Huberdeau took over the most assists in a single season by a left wing, the least prominent position in NHL history, who do you think it was? Like, who would you have guessed? Because I said Luc Robitaille, and you all shit on me. You're like, he's a goal scorer. He doesn't make
Paul
passes.
Kariya? Was he left wing?
Paul Kariya. Was Paul Kariya left wing? I guess
I
I
know
always
the
thought of
answer,
Kariya as a
so-
center. I always thought of Kariya as a center, but I'm not saying I'm right.
I think he was winger, because I remember him and Solani were wingers, and they always had to play with like a second-rate center in their career in Anaheim.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just think I've always thought of him as that.
Like, I know what the answer is, and
left wing. Kariya was left wing.
There you go. So I'll say Paul Kariya.
That's who you thought, or that's who you think?
That's who I would think. If I was like trivia night at the Dome, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
Who would you have thought if you hadn't known the answer, Ryan? Like, who would your guess have been?
Bobby Hull.
Maybe like, I was gonna say Daniel Sedin, maybe, but he was more of the goal scorer of the 2 Sedin brothers.
I just don't know which is
Johnny
which.
Gaudreau.
No Flames person holds a record.
Lanny McDonald.
Like most left wingers are goal scorers.
You say left wieners?
So I don't know. I'm trying to think of like someone who I would think would be more of a playmaker. You know what? Maybe Kariya I would have gone with.
I'm going to make this comment, which is I love that when you search Paul Kariya on Google, just the name Paul Kariya, it shows him in his Blues jersey is the first photo.
Really?
Like, because that's what I think of with Paul Kariya.
Absolutely. And Colorado.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Colorado that year that him and Solani signed to win a cup. That really paid off.
I have that Kariya jersey. That's the only one I have so far.
Yeah,
no, I would have never guessed Joe Juno. That would have been.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
Isn't he from like Alaska? Is that the guy from Alaska?
Mystery Alaska.
No.
Oh, but I thought maybe Juno.
Sanjay's friend was in that movie.
Thank you. I didn't have to bring it up this time. Okay.
So what I want to know, Sanjay, is did he have to stand out in the cold while Prince sang? That's the interesting part.
Prince wasn't in that movie.
Wasn't Prince in that? Who was in that movie?
Richard.
Oh, right. Little Richard was that.
If it was Prince out there, I would have been out there standing listening to Prince.
So
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I got to edit this scene out is what you're telling me. But before this happened, like a couple things. So we know earlier in the year, Ellen Walsh got into it with Dom Lucian from The Athletic about his placement of Hart Trophy players, him saying, hey, Huberdeau deserves more love, but you're crappy and you don't understand it. And him saying, hey, a lot of people say you're crappy too, Alan. They got back and forth there. Did you guys realize Huberdeau was having this type of season? Like he's right now, he's at 97 points in the league. He's going to probably hit 100 here, hopefully tomorrow against Leafs. And I was waiting for a response, but nothing. But he's going to probably hit 100 points here. Did you guys didn't realize he was having this good of a season?
I knew he was having a great season in terms of piling up the points. I had no idea he was getting even close to a record of any sort. I hadn't read anything about that. And like we did that segment last pod where we were breaking down some of those like rare performances, and I didn't even touch on Huberdeau because I had no clue. That he was getting close at all. Like I hadn't read one single article about him approaching that record.
Yeah.
The most underrated position in hockey. You said like the least glamorous. Like it is. Like,
it is. Yeah.
Think about any great like other positions. You can name them off the top of your head. The left wing.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't help. He plays in Florida as well, right? Like they're not going to get the same kind of coverage as, I'm sure if it was, Michael Bunting going for the record or something, like we would hear about it, right? Or, any player from any team in Canada or one of the bigger markets. Huberdeau probably just isn't getting the love that he deserves. Plus the fact that he isn't even the best player on his team, too. I think he doesn't get quite the respect that he deserves. Well, he's not. Barkov's the best, the most valuable forward on that team.
Not point-wise.
Not point-wise, but everything he brings to that team, he's still the most valuable forward.
Okay, so
plus Huberdeau plays lower in the lineup. He plays against lesser opponents for sure.
Isn't Huberdeau, like, to me, Huberdeau was the great promised hockey player that wasn't. And what I mean by that is, it's not to say that he's never been good. But like when I remember World Juniors, they talked about Huberdeau like he was going to be Steven Stamkos. Like he was going to be one of those great guys. Even Stamkos, to some degree, I don't think ever lived up to his hype. But there was just such an air about him and what he was going to be. And then he went to Florida, and it was like it never happened. Like he never became that guy. He got injured. Other things occurred. The team was terrible around him. And now after all these years, like he's starting to finally become that guy. Like he had an amazing like junior career. He was amazing for the World Juniors, but it just never seemed to occur at the NHL level. And now all of a sudden it feels like he's finally stepped into that role, but it's taken a while. I'm trying to figure out, what was his draft year? Do you guys know?
Maybe like 2013, I'd say.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's find out here. Jonathan Huberdeau draft year is 2011.
Oh,
the same as the Ryan Nugent Hopkins draft. So that one went like
Huberdeau
this.
On your team right now.
That one hurts. Edmonton. That one hurts.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins by the end of his career will have the most games played for the Edmonton Oilers and team
all time.
Probably, yeah.
Wow, what's the record right now?
It's not Gretzky. Messier played more.
Brian Smith.
Nope, he was traded away too.
But he came back.
Yeah, but not for long. Games played, Edmonton Oilers. Okay,
I'm gonna say, if I had to make a guess, I'll say Craig McTavish or someone really random. I'm gonna say like
it's a Hall of Famer.
It's a Hall of Kevin Lowe.
There you go. Kevin Lowe played over 1,000 games for the Edmonton Oilers. Ryan Smith was 971 and Messier was 851. Right now, Ryan Nugent Hopkins is 707, but signed a long-term deal. So he has the chance to end up as the longest player. But after he was drafted, Gabriel Landeskog, Jonathan Huberdeau, this doesn't seem like a strong draft all the way down. Adam Larson, Ryan Stone, Mika Zibanejad, who's been good, Mark Scheifele, who seems to have paid it off, Sean Couturier, he's always injured, Dougie Hamilton, who's a good defenseman.
These are great names.
You know what? I honestly I disagree. Like I think this is probably one of the more underwhelming drafts.
You wouldn't have Dougie Hamilton on your team right now?
I'm not saying I wouldn't have Dougie Hamilton. I'm saying that if you look at the rest of those guys above him, there's really not like anything overtly amazing. Duncan Simons, Ryan Murphy, Sven Barchi, Jamie Oleksiak, JT Miller, Joel Armina,
JT Miller, that's solid.
Oscar Clefbaum, Tyler Biggs, like I feel like it's actually kind of
that was Leafs, wasn't it? Tyler Biggs.
Tyler Biggs, was he? Yeah, he was Leafs. Oh man, the Oilers suck at drafting. Ty Ratty,
he's from Airdrie.
Yeah, and that's helping. John Gibson. It's always interesting when they do those redrafts years later and how they would actually go. Like my God, but I don't know. I feel like Nugent Hopkins, whatever. He's a round player, but he's not anything amazing.
Well, I thought he would be like a lot better. Like you said, like Huberdeau, but like Nugent Hopkins, I thought he would be like a point of game player. Like before his draft, they're like, oh, this guy's just like Joe Sakic, people were saying. And I was like, oh, wow.
Talk big about guys. He was so small. But that's the thing. Okay, so think of it this way. Ryan Nugent Hopkins his career is probably like middling to downing, right? Like he's going to go eventually start going down. Huberdeau's just starting to go up. Like that's still crazy. Like we're looking at almost 12 years here, 10 or like I guess 11 years to for that career to actually start taking off.
Late bloomer.
Like that's
the Florida air. You know,
it could just be like I wonder where he played in the lineup before. Like, did he used to play with Barkov on the top line?
Probably.
Because I'm wondering
who amongst us watches Panthers games.
Yeah, exactly right. But like I know he's lower in the lineup now, and I'm wondering if that's just starting to create more opportunities for him. So maybe it's just his usage is different this year. Who knows?
Or the depth is better too.
Well, yeah,
maybe.
like that team, that everyone can score on that team, which is nuts. Like some of the guys that they pick up, like look like Sam Bennett, like he was doing nothing for Calgary, and all of a sudden they pick him up, and now he can score with the best of them. And was it Mason Marchment? Is that the right? The guy that they picked up from the Leafs in the trade
for Bunting?
No, this was it was a terrible trade. We've got Malgin, not Malkin, but Malgin, Dennis Malgin. That was a bad trade by Dubas, and it was just an AHL guy that we traded over, and he's turned into a solid player for them on that third line. So yeah, I don't know. They're getting goal scoring from everyone.
Yeah, they really are. Huberdeau having this amazing season that's being undocumented because none of us really watch Florida. And honestly, the Cats will be a team I watch in the playoffs. Like I'm excited to see them play. Yeah. But you guys talked about this last week, which is you said, who's having all these amazing seasons. I want you to think of those players and who do you think should get the Hart Trophy this year? Who should the conversation of the Hart Trophy be around and why? And you don't have to pick like the McDavids or whatever. Like Adam was probably like, it's McDavid. Like we know who he's going to pick. But who do you think? Because I do want to go off route on this one. And I can go first if you guys want a minute to think about this. What's your call? Okay. I am going to say that I think it should go to Yossi. And I think the fact that, like, as we talked about, the fact that this is a defenseman who could have 100 points is mind blowing. Like it is like, but like you said, everyone's having an amazing season. Goal scoring points are through the roof. But man, a defenseman that could actually potentially hit 100 points. No one thought that the Predators were going to be good this year. Like nobody. I know, like in goaltending, they had Saros rated high and everything else. But this is a team that had guys like Matt Duchene and had just seemed to be dropping off slowly, and that the picks that they'd made, the players and the trades that had occurred had been to the detriment of this team. And all of a sudden you're getting like this unearthly studly performance from this defenseman in combination with the other things, has this team in a playoff spot and could potentially do some damage in the playoffs if things go right for them. So for that reason, the fact that we could see it now, the catch is if he doesn't hit 100, does it occur? Probably not. Hell, if he hits 100, does it occur? Probably not. But I think that to me is the compelling argument for him. The fact that he could do that, I think is extremely compelling.
I do find it odd that Yossi isn't mentioned more among Hart favorites because you're right. It's such a rarity for a defenseman to get 100 points. I
don't even know who the last defenseman was who had it.
That would have been Brian Leach in 92.
Brian Leach?
Yeah.
My God.
92 or 93, one of those years.
Oh.
Yeah, Brian Leach was the last one to do it. You were going to say Al McInnes, Sanjay?
Oh, I was going to say we looked it up. I think did we talk about that last episode?
We did, yeah. Yeah, it was Brian Leach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm surprised he isn't being mentioned more. I think if he gets 100 points, he should definitely be in consideration. Like I don't want to be a homer and say Auston Matthews.
Yeah, you do.
Just say it. Just do it.
Just do it. Adam would say McDavid, and his argument would be that it's McDavid. So make your argument. Matthews.
Well, it is one of those things where it's like, like if Yossi gets 100 points, then like he should definitely be a favorite or a consideration. But if he doesn't, then no. Same thing kind of goes with Auston Matthews. If he can get over 60 goals and 100 points and win the Rocket, then yeah, like he should be among the favorites. But if he doesn't reach 60 goals, well, then like, will he win it? I don't think so. It'll probably end up going to someone else. So I think it is these totals that they have to get to. Also with Draisaitl, like if Draisaitl ends up getting 60 goals and 100 points, and he'll have more points than Matthews, then why wouldn't he be more of a favorite than Matthews is? It is tough, but for Matthews' argument, I'll say it is rare for a player to get 60 goals. There's only been 20 players before to do it. To get 60 goals over 100 points, only 17. So he could become the 18th player to do it this year. And the difference between him, though, and a lot of those 60 goal scorers is the two-way game. Not too many of those 60 goal scorers were considered two-way forwards. Even Steve Yzerman, who did it back at that time, I don't think he was considered a two-way forward. I think that came later on in his years. So just the fact that, Matthews is also leading the league in takeaways, and his analytics are really good in terms of expected goals against, his face-off percentage, all that. Just a really solid two-way game. I think he should be considered. But I'm going to put out one more name because there's another guy that I could definitely lean into, and that's Igor Sturkin. This guy, I think, has carried the Rangers for the most part on his back. They are one of the teams that have allowed the least amount of goals against, but they're a very average defensive team. And I got into those numbers last episode, but they're really middle of the pack in terms of like shots allowed and scoring chances, expected goals allowed. But they're right up at the top of the league in goals allowed. And if he finished with the save percentage he has now, he'd be seventh all time for save percentage in a regular season. So that's another just unbelievable rare performance that's occurring right now, and at the most important position.
All right, Sanjay.
Well, I'm gonna say number 13 on the Calgary Flames, Johnny Gaudreau, right? Like,
I thought that was Kachuk.
Yeah, no, that's number 19. Why should it be Gaudreau? Well, you look at his numbers 5-on-5. And his line is outscoring everyone else by ridiculous pace. Like, I think last I looked, I think they were like plus 70 or something, like 5-on-5 or something. I can't remember, but it was like plus, I think Gaudreau's like plus 50 or something. Last I checked, or around that. And their line is just like dominating on 5-on-5. Like, if you look at Gaudreau's power play and his power play points, they're not like up there with the league leaders, but if you look at his 5-on-5 points, I think they're like he's number one. I could be mistaken, but I think he's like number one. And you look at where the Flames were last year compared to this year, not much really changed. They got a new coach. Yeah, absolutely. That changed. But on terms of on ice talent, they lost their captain in Giordano, and they got Gaudreau. Like, he's really stepped it up this year compared to last year. And the Flames went from missing the playoffs in the weakest Canadian division of all time into hopefully a division title. So I know there's a lot of great
Canadian division of all time.
I just had to get that dig in there because everyone always said it was weak. So I just had
I really liked that. I thought it was a good division. It might not have been the best and strongest division, but I still think it was a good division.
It was a great division. I was just throwing shade at all the people who said it was crap.
I appreciate that about you.
I just think his 5-on-5 numbers, the Flames have been tremendous, and his plus minus is like insane. And that whole line, was going really well. So I think, and Gaudreau's kind of the straw that stirs that drink. Like, if you look at like Lindholm before he came to Calgary, his points, I think he was like maxing out at like in the 40s, maybe low 50s. And now he's like 60s, 70s point a game player, and Kachuk as well could hit 100 points.
You're boring, Ryan. Look at him.
No, I was looking up the 5 versus 5 points. You are right. Johnny Gaudreau is first in the league at 5-on-5 points with 60. Austin Matthews is second with 58.
Did you doubt him?
Hmm?
Did you doubt
him? He
him?
wasn't even sure, so I wanted to.
I wasn't sure.
I thought it came up. I thought it came up some other time here that he had that. Maybe I just heard it somewhere.
Okay. But yeah,
who was third there?
Matt Kachuk. Matthew Kachuk is third, and then Mitch Marner fourth. Draisaitl fifth.
Wow.
Michael Bunting sixth.
Remember when everyone hated Draisaitl because he wasn't good defensively? And now he's fifth for 5-on-5. Something to think about.
Points. That has nothing to do with defense.
It's not plus minus.
Look at plus minus. Go look at it. It's not bad.
Not bad.
Look at it. Honestly, the conversation.
No, it's not bad. His plus minus.
No,
plus minus is actually quite good.
But the analytical community scoffs at plus minus.
They do. But also the analytical community had people who said that the Sharks were going to be a playoff team. So it depends
Isn't
whose
that
analytics you're looking at.
One person who said
100%. But that's the problem, right? Like everyone's thing has bias, and we all pretend it doesn't, but they all do. It's just, what do you bias? Do you favor shot percentage over something else? Do you rate something high versus something else? Everyone's has this problem. But I think we've talked about this. You and I had this conversation.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to have it again. Okay. Now, since you guys brought up Leon Draisaitl, he actually had a really big night in the sense that he got injured, but got his 100th point for the year and then his 50th goal before Austin Matthews decided to score 3 goals and push that lead ahead again. But I do think it's important to kind of note here just some things about it, because as we've said, he's probably, is that signed or not?
No.
Oh, still cool.
Oilers game.
It's still cool. But he's now one of 3 players to score 50 goals more than once. He has done it 2 years in a row. Not 2 years in a row. He's done 2 seasons now. He didn't do it last year. Yeah, he couldn't do it last year because of the short season.
Or the year before, probably because of COVID, right? It's been probably 3 seasons ago he got it.
I thought he got it the year he was the MVP. Or it was before that, because he was behind Ovechkin for the Rocket by like 1 goal. You're right. It is 2 years ago, or whatever it was prior to COVID. But he is having an amazing season. He's the highest goal scoring German player of all time. And he's on the Oilers team where he's one of 4 people to have scored 50 plus goals more than once. Can you name the other 3?
We already just did this.
No. Not this part. We didn't.
The Oilers.
Named
Oilers.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Can you name the other Oilers who have done it?
To do what? Sorry?
The other Oilers. Quit looking at your phone. Look up
No,
here.
no, you said contact.
Yeah, re-ask the question.
Make eye contact with me. I'll state the conversation. Can you name the other 3 Oilers who have scored 50 goals more than twice, or twice or more?
Oh, wait, hold on. You said Draisaitl was the highest scoring German-born player, but Danny Heatley was born in Germany.
But he doesn't play for Germany the same way Brett Hull doesn't count for Canada, so it doesn't matter. Let's just pretend.
You said German-born. Heatley was born in Germany. So you should have said German national.
And you argue with TSN in the records.
You always argue about Brett Hull.
I'm not allowed
Canadian,
to, though. I've lost that argument. So how can I?
You've lost that argument,
Baron. If you accept this, then you accept that Brett Hull is a Canadian.
The same goes for you, dude.
When did we film that?
I'm not accepting anything. I'm stepping back.
Exactly.
I'm keep your mouth shut. I'm not going to put in my 2 cents at all. I'm just letting you know that that's double standards, Baron.
It's not double standards. I'll accept that. If you accept mine, and you go back and edit that segment we made months ago that we have never been able to do because we've never had all.
No one has any idea what we're talking about.
So,
okay, well, I'll name the other 3 Oilers that have scored 50
Go ahead.
goals. Gretzky.
Yeah.
Messier.
No.
Curry. Glenn Anderson.
Yeah, crazy. So he's made a major accomplishment. McDavid also scores 100 points. He's leading the league in points right now. Ho-hum every year. But it is boring.
Get someone else up
in an off year too, which is nuts.
Yeah, and he had one of the worst months of his career, him and Draisaitl. But they both are amazing.
But even during like the worst months of their career, they were still like close to point per game.
They're still better than most players, isn't that
like
nuts?
It's nuts. Yeah.
But you do have to think like it is kind of crazy to think that like you think about all those German players who have played. The fact that he has legitimately in a short amount of time here completely erased
all those German players, Marcel Gotch and who else?
Gotch?
Who was that? Tobias Reeder? Was he German?
Tobias Reeder.
He's a good flame. Not a good Oiler.
Let me go through the list here. But I just think it's crazy because I would have never thought that he is that he would be the highest so quickly. You know what I mean? Because there's lots of players you think of as.
There's really not a lot of great German players, bud.
That's your problem.
There really isn't.
It's your problem that you hate people like Tim Stützle and Nico Strom, but
I would still say Danny Heatley is the best.
And Marco Strom and Dominic Cahoon and Marcel.
I just remember Germany was always included in like the World Cups as like
just so they can get beat.
Yeah, and then they'd always lose, and like Kolzig would do his best, but it just would never happen for them. Poor Germany. Maybe they'll be good at this World Cup. Who knows?
I still regret not getting Draisaitl to buying a Draisaitl PA Raiders jersey game to sign it for me.
You can pay hundreds of dollars and have that done for you now.
I could have done for free when I interviewed him.
Yeah. That's weird to ask a teenager for an autograph.
Wow, I felt unprofessional.
Excuse me, sir.
Hey, I know you're 16.
Other
Can you sign
other
this?
reporters do it, man. I've seen it. Other reporters will do
I'm
it.
sure they do.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of stuff Bedard has signed here already, but who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. It is what it is.
Anyways, what's your question about Draisaitl after all those stats you listed?
I don't even remember.
Is he the greatest German player of all time? Yes, he is.
I remember. But yeah, how is this? Is it getting lost in the fact that there's all these other great seasons occurring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really is. I think Matthews' season is overshadowing Draisaitl's. And like no one's talking about how Draisaitl could also get to 60 goals.
It's
like,
true.
You just don't hear.
It focuses on the Rocket Richard, not the amount, right? You're right.
Exactly. And even the Hart conversation, like you hear McDavid all the time. Draisaitl's kind of down there, like in the betting odds, but he's not top 3 for most of what I've seen. But like I said, if he gets 60 goals and he's going to have more points than Matthews, then like why wouldn't he bump Matthews out of that spot? So I do think it's getting kind of lost. I think it's tough when you're on a team with McDavid because he's going to overshadow you, right?
Hey, Ron Francis had his entire career overshadowed by people, and he's still not talked about nearly enough how good he is.
Never made a Team Canada in a best on best tournament.
So stupid. And like the fact that he was one of 300-point guys on a team, like amazing. And one of the greatest steals ever, one of the worst trades ever. If you're a Penguins fan, it's amazing. If you're a Hartford fan, it probably broke your heart. But it is kind of crazy. All right, we're going to end on one last thing here, which is Keith Yandle's Ironman streak coming to an end so they can try out younger talent. What is this the right move? Was this the right move, or was this kind of a punch to the nuts?
I think players talk, and I think, the way that they treat Yandle when it comes time to signing free agents, especially older players, they can say, you know what? I'm not going to go to Philadelphia. And Johnny Gaudreau's going to say that too. But other free agents are saying, you know what? I don't want to go play in Philadelphia if that's the way they handle it. And Philadelphia's always had kind of like a rough relationship with their stars. I mean, look at what they did with Lindros.
Right?
Yeah. So I think if you're not going to play him, just you should have traded him. You should have traded him at the deadline. I'm sure someone would have taken him.
I don't know if the market was that big for Yandle. He's having a kind of a tough season, to be honest with you.
7 for him or something.
Like, do you think he's going to play somewhere next year? Yeah. Do you think he's going to play even next year?
He'll get a PTO, I think.
You think? I think he'll retire now. His Ironman's done.
Yeah, maybe.
I think his career's done.
And
I just don't understand it. Like Philly's not going to make the playoffs anyways. Like if they were like making a real push and they had like a young stud that they needed to get in the lineup, then I could see it. But they're far out of the playoffs. They're not going to make it. You couldn't sit someone else to see some other young player. Like you had to break up his Ironman streak.
Yeah.
Like it just sucks. I feel bad for him. It would be nice. How close was he to 1,000 games, or was it 1,000?
10 games or something?
Yeah, it was super close.
It was really close.
Don't look it up yet because I want to make a comment on it. I'll look it up because I have another question.
Okay. Well, anyways, he was that close to getting to that mark. Like at least let him get there. Like I would have let him at least finish out the season. And then let him retire gracefully. It's just too bad that it had to go out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Very Mike Babcockish.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah, it sounds like 968. It says here, but I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, I thought it was more than that.
Yeah. No, it's 989. Yeah, 989 games is when
still
it was
close.
ended.
Like you couldn't just stretch it out.
Like 11 more games to give him the 1,000. Hey,
yeah.
They let Giroux play 1,000 in Philadelphia before they traded him.
That's true. Does anybody know who the next leader will be?
Kessel.
Phil Kessel.
Philadelphia Kessel. And then once again, this goes to
the
Edmonton
epitome
Radio.
of conditioning and endurance.
Yeah.
But this went on
cardiovascular.
They were talking about it. Like if Phil Kessel gets the record, do you even remember Keith Yandle having it?
No, because it'd been such a short time, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone's just gonna like, oh my god, everyone's just gonna love when Phil Kessel does it, right? Because the one guy you would never expect to be able to do something like that, like this out of shape looking small dude who eats hot dogs out of the Stanley Cup and everything like that. He's the one who's going to have the the endurance to be able to last that long.
If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, go listen to stories about Phil Kessel on YouTube. Someone sent me some today and I listened to them and they're hilarious. Like they just make fun of him, but they all love him. It's it's so weird.
Tell one.
No, there's a lot of them. Most are like him swearing at people and doing stuff like him yelling at the Leafs coach, calling him fat and being like, if he wants to weigh me, he can come in here and weigh me. Or like the curtains in the hotel room falling off and you'd be like, my eyes, it's so bright. Like just seems like such a whiner. I don't know. But I just
the funny thing with Phil Kessel is he is the player I've seen most live.
Really?
Any other player, because I went and saw him play twice with the Leafs. When I got to Toronto, those were the first 2 Leaf games I ever got to see. He was on that team, and then we saw him play in Arizona twice. So I've seen him 4 times live.
I really wish someone would have got him for playoffs because it would have been enjoyable to see him play. But next year,
one thing I'll say about Kessel, like I'm not going to say he was like Connor McDavid fast, but you could tell, like at least in Toronto. When who was Phil Kessel on the ice? Like there was just a different level of speed, which is shocking for like someone who looks like that to be able to move the way Kessel did. It was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, no, he was good stuff, and he still is good stuff. So it sucks for Keith Yandel, but I think that's probably the end of that era.
That's it for him, yeah.
And speaking of ends of eras, like, click, subscribe, and this is the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. As always, you could probably watch one of the 800 Willie Weighs in to get your Adam content. There'll probably be one tomorrow unless he schedules something at the same time. That's a thing that he's always doing and supposed to be doing. But we'll see. You never know. With that, I'm Baron.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sanjay. And
this is Delayed Offside. Thank you for listening. Take part and feel free to comment. Stay pretty. Stay gold, pony boy. Delayed Offside.